Hi, my name is Luciana Téllez. I am the Public Relations Officer for the CSD2014 Conference Organized Crime and Conflict Zones. I am here with Antônio Sampaio, who is a Research Analyst for Latin America at the International Institute for Strategic Studies. Thank you for coming, Antônio. I only got a couple of questions for you. The first of them is, you're going to participate in a panel on terrorist criminality. I would like to know, how do you think the Colombian peace process is influencing the behavior of actors involved in drug trafficking in Colombia?
Well, the peace process in Colombia is influencing conflict there in several ways. One of which is that it provides an incentive for armed groups there to increase violence and increase their attacks, especially on infrastructure targets, energy infrastructure, oil pipelines, roads, which are quite easy targets to hit, and because they're spread through very thinly populated rural regions of the country, but they cause severe disruption in the economic power of the state, if you will. So they do that to show that they're still strong, they're still negotiating on a strong position. And the second way that the peace process influences conflict, I think, is the way that the criminal groups, the armed groups, the guerrilla groups, they are moving into criminality. And the peace process accelerates that process in the way that it provides a horizon for these groups in which the top leadership will, of course, participate in disarmament and rehabilitation and reintegration. But the local commanders, the mid-level commanders, they have very little incentive to drop that power and that control that they have over some rural regions, because that is preferable to the other economic options that they have, because many times conflict and criminality has been all that these mid-level commanders and these foot soldiers have learned in their lives, so they don't have many economic alternatives other than fighting, and the fighting has provided some important contribution, some important financial remuneration to them. It's a very profitable business. Drug trafficking, illegal mining, the political economy of conflict has been an incentive for these guerrillas to move into criminality.
So what we saw in the previous transitional justice peace process that the Colombian government brokered with the ELN, with the Autodefensas Unidas de Colombia, a lot of these former paramilitaries moved into criminality shortly after being demobilized. Do you think the Colombian government has lessons learned from this, and how would they apply them in the event? Do you think that reintegration could be more successful learning from this?
Well, they have been aware to the situation, and of course the lessons of the paramilitary groups that moved into strong criminal groups, the criminal bands, or BACRIM as the Colombians call it, has been in the minds of the policymakers and negotiators. However, and one of the issues, the last stage of the peace process is the negotiation over how this transitional period is going to take place, how the disarmament will take place. But it is a very complex phenomenon. And one of the reasons why the conflict in Colombia has been so complex and so difficult to solve is that they have been operating in areas of weak governance, or areas in which the government has not been able to enforce its security, its laws, its economic power. So it will be the situation will remain after the peace process. So the conditions for movement of guerrillas into criminality are there. Although I'm sure that the policies and the awareness of the government is higher than during the paramilitary groups' disarmament. So the conditions are there, but certainly I presume there's strong signals that the guerrillas now, especially the FARC, are more cohesive than the paramilitary. So that's a further element. But at the same time, they are also a larger group. So there are more fronts and battalions that may continue the criminal operations.
Okay, thank you. So I had a different question for Brazil. So there were strong rumors in October of last year that threats by the PCC, the Primeiro Comando Capital, who's one of the largest criminal gangs operating in Brazil, and particularly from prisons, would conduct a terrorist attack during the World Cup. And it was a big news brought by the Estadão de São Paulo, the regional newspaper. And this has gotten the government to really step up security measures in Brazil. Do you think this is a serious possibility in cities with weaker security apparatus like Manaus and Recife, in contrast to cities with stronger security apparatuses like Rio de Janeiro?
My view is that it's kind of the opposite, because the reason why purely criminal groups attack directly, very visibly, law enforcement agencies, policemen, the government, is because they want to expel the government, or they want to deter the government from entering some areas in which they are conducting their illegal businesses. So the cities with less state presence, or with less law enforcement numbers perhaps, in Brazil. Brazil is not a country that has weak areas of very weak governance, at least not in the levels of the jungle regions of Peru and Colombia. But Brazil, the groups have been very powerful there as well, but they have been able to operate quite successfully in the shadows. There have been sporadic episodes of violence in a few areas in which they want to expel the government, but it is only when they feel that the law enforcement agencies are moving too much into the territory and are overcoming the unofficial balance of power there. For the World Cup, I think there is little incentive for these groups to do something very visible, because they don't have an ideological narrative that demands this kind of publicity. But certainly, if in the context of security for the World Cup, the Brazilian state tries to move into territories in which the PCC and the Red Command, they are strong, I'm sure that there will be some kind of response, that it will be visible. But it doesn't come to the level of a state threat, or definitely not, doesn't put the event at risk.
Thank you very much, Antônio, for your time. So thank you all for watching. We're very privileged to have you here and participate in one of the panels. For all of you, if you couldn't attend the conference, all the panels will be recorded and the podcast will be uploaded to the website. And of course, these interviews will also be available not only on the website, but the African Leadership Center website and the CSD research group as well. And stay posted on our social media outlets for the release of a final report. Thank you.